record that. Okay. All right, everybody. Sorry about this. The recording will look much better than what you're seeing. Okay. So let's all just take a breath and just land right here in the room. Use your senses, your sight, your hearing, to bring you into this moment. Notice how when you're doing this, it naturally brings your attention to the forehead and crown. It just brings that energy up high in the body. Take in the entire environment at once. Now to go deeper, you're going to slow yourself way down, relinquishing that part of yourself that is trotting forward through your concept of time. Just let it all come to a stop. The jumping off point into infinity. Notice how from this place, consciousness feels safe to unfold itself. From the skewed perspectives that you've had all day, into the one big balanced perspective. That comfort that you slip into in these classes is actually a matrix of consciousness that touches literally everything in existence. At a level where it all sits in perfect balance. You come to a class like this, and I try to show you what it feels like to be there. We put you there, you slip away. We put you there, you slip away. We put you there, you slip away. But more and more, your being knows where that place is in consciousness. In the beginning, it just looks like comfort. But that's because it's balanced, contextually balanced. It's not pushing one thing versus the other. It's not good or evil. It's simply the vast everything. And in that vast everything, you find the completion of every story. In that vast everything, you find the completion of you. You feel comfort because for the first time, there's nothing to fix. When you lose this state, it's because of a story you're invested in. All it takes is a thought that touches something unresolved in your storyline, in what you have stored in your being. It lights it up, and you leave the whole state to have an experience of lack, an experience of anger or greed or vanity or lust or what have you. And you know what? None of that's a problem. The whole world is there to play with you in that way. But when you believe that it's an ultimate reality, these little stories, then you don't leave an adequate trail of breadcrumbs in your exploration into illusion to lead yourself back to what's real. So you have someone that meets with you every week, that kind of shakes you awake again, reminds you, but he's in an impermanent body. make sure that I don't become a crutch. As soon as you can, take yourself in hand. Because this is one of the few things in life you really can't afford to lose access to. It's difficult to catch, though most of you have caught it. It's one of those things that if you let it slip away even a week or so, it just disappears and you can't quite remember why you even cared about it. Haven't you noticed that when you don't attend class for a while, it's like you start to forget why you ever wanted to? And then usually things have to kind of fall to a certain level for you to suddenly go, oh yeah, I do remember there was this thing I was doing that was working. And then you come back. Nothing to be ashamed of. I've done all of that myself. But at some point, it has to become yours. And that begins with a deep commitment to yourself that you're not going to fall back asleep. You'll still fall back asleep, but growth towards staying awake doesn't begin until that commitment comes into play for you. I had a teacher that had some wakefulness and definitely a lot of power and a lot of problems. And I saw all kinds of people leave but so many of them left before they had owned their own road forward. And so that was just kind of the end of their spiritual trek in this life. You have to make it yours. A lot of teachers do that by making their students think that they can't live without them, or that they can't get anywhere without them. I've had teachers that tried to make their students believe that bad things would befall them if they left. I don't do that to you. So the upside of that is you're not being manipulated. The downside is you're going to have to direct yourself. This lifetime is a huge responsibility, especially for people who are on the brink of waking up. It's a short life with a million distractions. A million stories to thread you back into the illusion. have to watch it. It's a combination of relaxation and vigilance. It's delicate and strong, flexible but strong. Let's clean ourselves out a little bit. We're going to move up and down the mountain. Start up at the head center. Just imagine a big ball of light that encompasses the forehead and crown and above. And just breathe from that space. And decide right now that when the story comes in to pull you through into the illusion, that you're not going to pull that thread. You're going to stay with your chosen point of focus. On your next inhale, bring that ball of light down to the center of your chest. And breathe from that middle center. Exhale down to the lower center. Bring that ball of light down with the center of it just below the navel. That light encompassing the solar plexus all the way down through the perineum. And just breathe from the lower center. Now back up to the heart. Inhale to the heart. Stay in that heart center, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit. People feel so much shame. They feel it for so long that they don't even identify the emotion as shame anymore. It's just this bad feeling that follows them around. A sense of knowing that they're not good enough, or a sense of feeling unworthy. But the fact is, you are the sum total of everything you've ever experienced as a personality. Your life experiences have created all the obstructions. And your behaviors and misbehaviors have been a part of all of that. Your misbehaviors have mostly not been the cause, they've been the result of just the things that you've experienced. And so you can go ahead and accept yourself exactly the way you are. If improvements don't happen until you can first accept yourself exactly as you are. can you feel how those words actually bring more energy into the heart? In order to give, you have to have. People who have lived obstructed situations compare themselves to people who are not as obstructed. And they wonder why they don't feel like they have as much to give, as much love, as much resource. But you have to give. You have to have the flow, which means the obstruction can't really be there. The only lasting way to remove an obstruction is to first accept the state of things as they are. To stop judging it and just tend to it. The way a parent tends to a crying child. It's from that place that you can start to actually transmute those energies, bring them back into the context of the whole. But even just shifting your attention to look directly at those obstructions, but to do it without judgment and with acceptance, begins to work on them. Whatever you place your attention on evolves, comes clear. Reintegrates. This is true for you, and this is true for anyone. Stay at the heart. The interesting thing is, you aren't actually lacking in anything. When you're obstructed, the energy isn't flowing properly, but all that energy is still there. It just gets channeled to self-preservation, internal anger, grasping. But you don't have to actually obtain something that you don't already have. You just have to open yourself to being rearranged. Stay at the heart. If you can bring it into your awareness and look at it with unconditional acceptance, and just make yourself available, then in its ripe moment you will be rearranged in a way that removes the obstructed aspect of that energy so that it can take its place in a more functional system. Sometimes this will come with a cognitive reframe where suddenly you just see something differently. Other times, it'll just happen and you don't really know what happened to make it happen. You just know that all of a sudden that thing that you had grown so accustomed to is no longer getting at you. And you can feel your consciousness expand. If you ever want to ensure that you have an experience like that, you can sit down in meditation and don't get up. We've talked about before how at different windows of time, and it's different for every person, your body will start insisting that you get up. Your body will start insisting that you do other things. Usually the first is a threshold of boredom. But if you just let it be in the space and stay aware and remain seated, that will eventually rearrange and you'll find yourself in a different place in consciousness. For me, the first threshold was usually 45-minute mark. Then another one at an hour and 15. Then another one around 2 hours. You can remove major blockages if you're willing to sit in that way. But if you're not there yet, you can still open yourself to be rearranged so that that part of you that already knows what needs to happen has permission to act. Can do what it needs to do. Now from the heart, come back up to the head center. This is the easiest place to find your spiritual life. But it's because it's bypassing the obstructed arrangement of the personality. Ultimately, you want to be able to bring this clarity down into the denser levels of your life. Spiritual life is not escapism. from the depth of your being. Ask to be rearranged. Show me my next step and provide me with the necessary rearrangement. Give your permission. And then just sit and be present. Nothing to control. Just show up for what you are now and let it change. Maybe it'll give you some distance from some of your more tightly held stories. A slight shift in the pathways of least resistance. The change may be small, but a small change today changes your entire trajectory. You end up in a different place than you would have ended up otherwise. And in this case, a place that is more divinely directed. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. In truth, we're not even really capable of figuring it out on our own. We are only seeing in 3 dimensions. The dimensions of reality are vast. Open yourself to be rearranged. Let go of some control. let go of control, what you're going to realize is that you were never in control to begin with. You were just futilely clinging to things that were going to be taken out of your hands anyways. So go ahead and let go. It's your destiny whether you would choose it or not. Might as well face it at will. And when you get over your fear, it's 1,000 times easier than what you were doing. One of my teachers used to say that the average person lives the same 5 days over and over and over again. And it's true. They let the smallest parts of themselves limit their actions, where they can go, what they can become. And so their whole life is just a loop, a habit loop that only really evolves when something awful happens. Death of a loved one, I suppose birth of a child too. But the reality is, in any moment, you can look up from that habit loop and you have not just 360 degrees of options available. Did I lose them? Shoot. Sorry to those of you on the recording. Sorry, everyone. I got a phone call, and so my phone shut off my Zoom. But what I was saying was that in any given moment, you have not just 360 degrees of options available to you, but you have all the vertical space above that circle and all of the space below that circle. You literally have the alchemical potential to move in any direction, to become anything, to shapeshift into literally any kind of person that you could think of, at least to take the beginning steps of that sort of a transformation. So for this week, when you wake up in the morning, you know, you're going to wake up and you're going to feel this sense of sameness. You know, the same dreads that you had the day before will be with you in the morning. The same problems will be with you in the morning. The same expectations for the day ahead will be with you in the morning. And this week, what I want you to do is I want you to intercept that. Intercept that. Take a breath. Slow yourself down. Open yourself up the way we do every week here. And tell yourself, today, anything is possible. Today can be the day that I become what I need to become to obtain my next step spiritually. Today can be the day when something that I've been hanging on to for a lifetime drops right off of me. Today could be the day that I attract the resources I need for my next steps into the future. I open myself to be rearranged. I am flexible enough to open myself to be rearranged so that today can actually be a new day. And then just be quiet and sit and let that rearrangement happen. And then walk into your day with that. And just notice what changes. Notice how you feel at the end of the week. And write it down, because these things slip away. All right, I know not a lot of you made it back onto the session after it stopped, but if there are any questions about that, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I'm going to let you guys get back to your night. All right. I will be here next week, and I will make sure that Zoom is not doing whatever it was doing tonight. All right, everybody. Have a great night.